Welcome to False Flag, the podcast made to cut through the propaganda and doublespeak and empower a grassroots activism, and most importantly, to take back a government of and for the people.
Welcome to False Flag. We thought we would talk today about the failure of the Republicans to pass their Health Reform Care Act. So both of y'all have some pretty interesting thoughts on it. Kind of made me laugh, so get started. Go.
Well, mine's not that interesting. I just think it's just real simply funny. I mean, it's hilarious that they've been saying for 6 years they couldn't wait to get their hands on it, and oops, now we don't have a plan.
So what did they do in that 6 years?
You're completely wrong on that, by the way. It was 7 years.
Oh, okay.
7 years. They're like a Monday morning
How do you know it's 7 years?
Because the mainstream media told me it was 7 years.
Well, I happen to be looking right here at my television screen, and it says on March 23rd, 2010, Barack Obama signed into law the Affordable Care Act.
Well, it's 2017,
So, yeah. 7 years. I just wanted to see if you knew why.
No, I didn't know.
Well, I know.
Well,
because I Googled it.
Well, one thing about it is, okay, first of all, I never thought I would say this because I was the most bummed out person around November. I'm glad he won. I am. At this point, I'm glad he won.
Why?
He's like that really loudmouth Monday morning quarterback guy who's like, if I would have brought Johnson in third quarter and that 3-man rush, that was stupid. And somewhere along the line gave him a whole team. He don't even know where the stadium's at. He doesn't have a clue. He doesn't know he doesn't know the names of the players. He doesn't know any of the rules of the game. Somebody gave him a football team.
But at least we know from his conversation with Time Magazine, he's doing great because he's president and we're not.
Yeah. It's great, man.
Yeah, it's good to be the king. Yeah.
Wait. And what gets me to, okay, they rolled this thing out in like 3 weeks? Obama took 14 months of building Obama took 14 months to build consensus on getting the health care bill out. They did 3 weeks. And they just said, here it is, but we're not going to tell you what it is. Vote for it because it's great. It's 3 buckets full of stuff.
Well,
I know it looks bad at first, but the second bucket's better. And the third bucket's just golden pretty things.
But you were talking earlier, and you had brought up the fact that for Black History Month, it's being brought to you by Ben Carson. Wanted to let you know that as we look back on Americans' history, it's important to realize that we never had slaves. They were all just immigrants. It was the immigrants that came over from Africa to live here in America. And this is Ben Carson for Black History Month. So what was your comment? That the slave owners,
they had to beat them off the ships when they were over in Africa. Pesky Negroes tried to get on too many of them. They just packing on those ships
because they wanted to be immigrants.
Yeah, well, they wanted to take the ride. Yeah, didn't get over here.
Looking for the American dream.
Prior to him signing the Affordable Care Act, he had asked, the Republicans to do what? So, you were asking earlier, and we were talking about this, and when Obama was trying to, get all the consensus together, what did he ask the Republicans? So, I mean, prior to the signing of the Affordable Care Act, which I still find that it's crazy people call it Obamacare because it was called the Affordable Care Act. Mm-hmm. Let's call it what it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just like, we don't call our stuff by the junk names. We call them by the proper medical names. So let's call it what it is, the Affordable Care Act. And when he was putting it together, he reached out to the Republicans and what?
Ask them for their input. Ask them for get some ideals. Let's build a consensus.
And he really did try hard to do that, and they really did shut him right down.
Yes.
Who did?
The Republican Party in the legislature.
The Republican Party shut him down prior to 2010 because they didn't want to help put together a consensus for a better health care, right? So they waited 7 years and still can't come up with anything.
No, yeah, not even A, B, or C's. Just not a clue.
It seems to me like if they would have waited and taken their turn, take a little
That
time
football's
and not
been
in a hurry, and come up with let's talk about this and take our time and see if we can sort this out and have a committee or something. I don't know.
The last thing they put out is our last midnight release on it was we're not going to cover hospitalization, maternity, mammograms, any kind of screenings. I mean, it's like, don't get sick. You'll be fine.
Well, thank God that the alt-right and the Republicans are, the moral majority, the Christians, because at least if they do get sick, they can just go to a faith healer and get hands laid on them and
just
heal.
pray a little harder.
Just pray harder.
Yeah.
So.
And good. Okay. Right in the middle, where he's supposed to be twisting arms and cajoling and making promises to get his bill passed, he's out on the White House lawn with a bunch of truckers going beep 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 like a 9-year-old kid. Did you see that video?
No, I didn't see it.
Somebody that was like, you get the idea. He's way over his head.
I got that idea a long time ago.
I mean, to a point of like,
He's kind of like your crazy uncle that you don't go visit.
Okay, is it? Okay.
But you get a card for him once a year at Christmas.
Look, I'm gonna put this on record right now. Does anybody else try to watch him speak and to watch him interact?
It's painful.
No, and I'll tell you what.
No, dementia.
No. Here's the deal, and I'll tell you, it's real simple, very simple. So simple, you just wouldn't believe how simple it is.
Everybody says so.
He's just great. I mean, it's just, trust me on this. It's great.
I was listening to an interview the other day about interpreters, diplomatic interpreters.
They're phoning it in, aren't they?
You got to be the junior guy to go get Trump.
Oh God!
Because they can't interpret it. I mean, the guy said, he interrupts himself.
Yeah,
he can't keep a stream of thought from the beginning of a sentence to the end of the sentence.
Yeah, speech is thinking out loud.
Well, it's a bigly problem for him. A very bigly problem.
Does it, like, dementia crosses my mind, and I mean that in all honesty. It's like
you're a loser, he would say.
I'm a loser. Okay, I think he's a sick guy.
All right, I just happened to Google the 76 of his campaign promises. So let's go through some of these.
Okay.
And, number one, build a wall along the southern border.
Yes, and let's get the Coast Guard, which actually does stop immigration. Let's get their budget. And didn't they say like all of his cuts that he's proposing would only make like 2 or 3 miles of wall? I mean, it's just pathetic. I mean, it's a 1,500-mile border, and you've got that 5 miles covered. And besides, there's nothing. Okay, the Germans had the Berlin Wall, armed guards, mines, barbed wire, and they still have people crossing every day.
Well, that often? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty effective.
Well, but see, they're not really serious about the goal. Otherwise, they go after people who hire illegal aliens.
Yeah, like we were supposed to here in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had, several years ago, that actually worked, I think, at that time when they were enforcing the law and prosecuting the employers.
Right.
And those laws are on the books. It is illegal to do that, but they just don't.
But they tried that in Georgia. they moved through a thing of like, you know, we're going to come down hard on people who hire illegal immigrants. So they saw the writing on the wall. Something like 25% of their illegal immigrants just went into the woodwork, never showed up. Their fields rotted, their crops rotted in the fields because they couldn't get anybody out there to do it. They ended up getting prisoners out, and next year the guy who put forth that amendment was no longer in office, and it's no longer prosecuted.
Sure.
And now they get their stuff out of their fields.
This is very important. You know, you all know that I've been working for years to really try to understand how come we don't have democracy in America again. I've been working with social protesting, joining organizations to bring this up. And I think it's very important that we talk about a very important issue that Trump made a promise on that will, I think, radically change things in America if he's able to do it. And that was that they'll be saying Merry Christmas again.
Thank God.
You know, I mean,
Thank God.
last time I checked, every time at Christmas you'd go to the dollar store to buy the goddamn cheap Christmas cards, they all said fucking Merry Christmas. So
They're 97%. I don't mean to offend anybody out there in YouTube land, but Christians are like 90-something% of the population. You're not a persecuted minority, guys. You're not. You're not. No one's ever stopped you from praying in school or saying Merry Christmas. Any of that stuff.
Number 4, he was going to get rid of Common Core, which I think he's going to replace it with charter schools by definitely getting DeVos in. I mean, I don't know any educator now. We're not saying names for a specific reason and stuff, but your wife is an educator, and what does she think of DeVos?
It's the most horrible. It's the worst case scenario, nightmare scenario.
I agree. And I'm okay if he, if he wants to get rid of the Department of Education on federal level, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with getting rid of the Department of Education and let the states give the money to the states. Let them have at it. The voters can figure it out.
Sure.
Might take a while. It definitely will take a while, but that's one of the enumerated.
What would be the benefits of doing away with the Department of Education and kicking it back to the states? What would be the benefit?
You get local control. More accountability from the
but when you have Kansas people in Kansas making
okay.
now, again, nobody to offend anybody, but when you have Kansas doing Bible study,
yeah, okay. Let me qualify this by getting rid of it. Cutting it down 90%. You might have to have something in there, kind of like the Department of Commerce, so they could coordinate everything and make sure everybody's holding hands and they can speak to each other across the state lines. And everybody's spelling cat the same and all that. So that's the Department of Commerce. That's a lot of what they do. In intrastate trade. So that have to be intrastate educational standards. That's all the federal government needs to do with education. And if Kansas wants to, go crazy.
And I'm picking Kansas out because they had a string the last couple of years of like every time you turn around, they were trying to do that.
Yeah.
So no offense, Kansas.
I'm okay with that. I believe in the. I think that
free market of ideals. Free market of ideals.
Yeah, I think that our old founding father guys were pretty smart when they enumerated the rights of the federal government, and education is not one of those.
Well, I thought it was interesting to kind of talk about education and making sure that, everyone's, shaking hands and everyone's saying. I forgot exactly where it was, but a school had hired a educator to come in to talk about AIDS and STDs to the seniors, and she said that she could present a biblically based program or a secular one. So obviously the school said we want the secular one. And number one thing that she brought up was, the reason of premature sex a lot in kids, is because of daddy. That daddy left the home and the girl is devastated, which, you know, these seniors were like, what? You know, and then explaining that boys were like waffles and girls are like, you know, cereal or something. And it was just such this fiasco because, I mean, her whole agenda was abstinence, and she didn't even talk about AIDS, didn't even talk about STDs, which was the whole reason for her to come in. Now, I've always found it interesting that, you know, the Christians feel like they have to have their way. And if they don't have it their way, then it's persecution. But it's not persecution for us to have to endure whatever they're forcing.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
Okay.
I think this is a matter of education, not morality. And you know, knowledge is knowledge, and it's neither good nor bad. And I think real Christians, you know, wouldn't mind education, real education, without a spin. You know, it could be on sex or spelling or you know what it takes your pick. You know, knowledge is knowledge. Now the problem is, I think that, and it has not much to do with religion, but in this country, in our modern American society, we tend to believe that if we ignore something hard enough, it'll just go away. And I don't think that's a religious problem right there. That's just society, you know, our society.
Guys are waffles, girls are spaghetti.
Well, I don't even know what that means. What does that mean?
I don't know.
I remember having Christians discuss like they didn't like the idea of their kids going to college because there was such an attack on their faith in college. They thought it was a really bad move.
Well, first of all, in America is always, I mean, number one, why did our forefathers come over from England? It was because to escape the religious persecution.
Religious government.
You know, and
but they didn't come over here to set up free religion.
Well,
they to run their own.
And I got done watching this week on Netflix a movie on the life of Madeline Marie O'Hare, who set up the Atheist American group, and also her son was in high school and they were still praying the Lord's Prayer to open class, and she said, you know, I don't want my son to participate in this, and took it all the way to the Supreme Court. And even on the news, she was on, you know, the nightly news with Howard Cronkite. She was on the news with, you know, Johnny Carson and all that. And she always said, you know, people are allowed to believe just because she doesn't want it in a public sector and being mandated by the school system, because it shouldn't be. But they have every right to believe whatever they want to believe, and she has every right not to believe in anything.
Well, it's Sunday as we're recording this. I'm sorry.
I'm dying and going to hell for that one.
It's Sunday we're recording this. I guarantee if you go to any church around here and go in there and ask are they being persecuted for praying in schools, every single one of them will go, yep.
But there again, see, that's the propaganda that we have in our society. There is, you know, fear based. Everything, you know, our society is driven by fear.
Yes, very much so.
Right. So
the bogeyman.
Yeah.
This will hit close to home for obvious reasons. Another one of Trump's campaign promises was the Environmental Protection Agency might just disappear.
He's right.
And let's look at some positive things that EPA has done. I remember in the 70s when it was first coming about, the pictures that were coming in on the news and in Time magazine of the pollution.
The river caught on fire, Mark.
Yeah.
Don't sugarcoat it. The river caught on fire.
You know, and
it burned and burned, and water should not burn.
You know,
unless you're Adele, it doesn't burn.
The point is, there was a lot of pollution in the cities and all that. And through the EPA, they got rid of that. So it did improve the health.
Lead and gasoline.
You know,
our violent crime rate plummeted over it.
There was a town in Oklahoma that they completely shut down and said it is unsafe to live here.
Miami or something like that?
Lead mine or something.
Yeah, somewhere up in some of that area.
Up in the north there somewhere.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the EPA does some great things, but if you make it disappear, which is, what the hell are we going to go back to?
But that's why the stock market is they call it the Trump rally. It's not that they love Trump. They're basically letting him go run amok.
Yeah.
I mean, your cost of putting a refinery in or a copper mine or whatever has went to zero if these measures go through.
Well, and it was interesting. This week I ran into a very older redneck person who was very much a Trump person, and when he found out that I was Democratic Socialist and that I had worked for Bernie Sanders, he kind of raised his eyes. But I told him something that I even said in the Bernie campaign. The reason Trump was getting so much attention was the same reason Bernie was getting the attention, because the average Americans were sick and tired of the establishment and they wanted change. The only problem is, it's not Trump. It's the fact that he sat on his fat ass, and if you don't believe that, just look at some of the pictures of him golfing. He does have a fat ass, so I'm just being truthful here. That he has allowed all these people, Steve Barron and other people behind the scenes, to put into play who's going into what. And it's become this power brokerage to keep the abuse going on and all the, it's terrible. They're keeping, my problem is that it's not him, but his handlers are telling him this person needs to be in this office, this person needs this, and all this, and it's keeping the corruption still there. It's not getting rid of it. So the change that he campaigned for, that the conservatives wanted, is not there. It's staying the same. If Bernie would have got elected, it would have brought about changes. So part of this thing about dismantling the government is, what damage is going to be done before we pull a stop to it? And how do we rebuild from that point once it's been decimated further?
He's hired his daughter with security clearance, gave her a salary without a job title. We don't know what she does, but she's working in the White House now.
Well,
Isn't there
speaking
laws
of the
against
EPA,
that?
Pruitt, head of the EPA,
Oh,
and
yeah,
that's
but
the fox
yeah.
at the hen house there.
Yeah, the guy
Yeah.
who's illegal,
He's-
conflict of interest right there. I
Yeah.
mean,
He wants to, the next one was knock down the regulatory walls between states for health.
That's a good one. That is one of the reasons the insurance is so high.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good one right there.
yes, I agree with that one.
Okay.
Did you know that the insurance companies have to have a separate charter or whatever
Right.
in each state?
Right.
There are different regulations.
yeah, no.
The Department of Commerce.
That's why every
tells-
state has an insurance commissioner.
Right.
That,
Right.
But look what look what he did with the healthcare thing. When he got his butt handed to him, instead of just buckling down and going back again, he's like, oh, let's move it on. What kind of leader is that? I mean, you got to be kidding me.
One thing that I think is funny is Trump makes all these statements, and if you don't call him out on it, a lot of these people that have never studied or done things outside of America take what he says as truth, but it's just idiotic.
Well,
Because another one of his statement was rebuild the country's aging infrastructure, especially bridges and airports that look like they belong in a third world country. Well, excuse me, I've been to third world countries, and I can tell you we're a hell of a lot better by about 50 to 70 years in most parts in our infrastructure than they are over there. In fact, I never will forget in South Africa, I noticed in this town I was in, they had this train track going through town. And I said, I've been here for a month and I haven't heard the train. What's the deal? And he said, oh, the train. Interesting thing. You get on, you don't know where you get off. And when you do get off, you don't know if it's going to start again. So, at least with Amtrak, I know I can get on at point A and end up in point B in a couple of hours and get off and it's still
you have
running.
a ticket with a destination on it?
Yeah. You know, so I mean, that's
It's
kind
not
of
that
bullshit.
bad, but it is bad.
But I
'cause
do.
I think there's something like 60% of the bridges in the country would, fail an inspection. Mm-hmm. Something like that. It's over half of them.
Yeah, the last big build we had was back in the what after the war? No, it was before the war. When everybody was during around the Great Depression, the
Oh, in the 40s, yeah, but
30s.
It was in the late 30s because
Yeah.
you go in any concrete bridge you look at, it's got 30 something.
All
on
the
it.
schools too. They're all made back during the time. And what was that program called?
WPA,
WPA,
WWA, WPA,
WPA.
I went through. I was driving through Arkansas here a while back, and I actually saw. I didn't see the camp, but I saw a sign that pointed off the road that said WPA camp. It was it wasn't an old sign.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. But something like that might work. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of unemployed people.
Yeah, but
Well, the thing is, like I said, the thing I'm concerned about is, and I want to go back to this person that I talked with that was the Trump supporter, is I talked to him about the fact that we both wanted change in America and we wanted to get away from the corruption and the people that had been in Washington for 50 or 60 years, And so we both agreed to walk away from that, respecting each other, because we both had the same end goals. We just have different paths to get there.
Yep.
And I think that's true. And a lot of Americans that supported Trump really want the change that I think all of us want. They just might have another way of going there. The problem is they listen to Trump and they think what he's saying is true because they're not as well educated as some of the other ones. They have they've either lost or they never had, reasoning skills at all.
Critical thought.
Yeah, critical thought.
I would like to say on the record right now, I am tired of winning at this point. I want to dial that back some.
All right.
My personal opinion is there's not much difference between Republicans and Democrats. It's just the block of voters that they use to get into office.
There is no Democrats in there.
No, let me throw that. Okay, after Trump got quotation marks elected, no fraud. I can't stand the thought. There was like 15 Democrats that voted for every single nominee he brought up, and one of those was the guy who ran as a vice president under Clinton. What was it Kane?
Yeah,
Kane voted for every single one of Donald Trump's appointments,
Yeah, there's not much difference.
including the Secretary of Education. I'm like, what? What?
Not much difference.
No, there is no difference. No.
But as far as the voters, the regular people, there's not much difference in it. Like you were saying, we all want the same thing. We all want, what we want? It's real simple: peace and prosperity. Mm-hmm. If you can have peace, you can have prosperity. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. It's real simple: peace and prosperity. Everybody wants that.
But that's not what the guy. I mean, he's already saying he's going to up the military. We have the largest military in the world by a factor of like 5. You add everybody up together, and we're 5 times as large. And he wants to. What was like 30%? It's just ungodly.
Oh, I thought it was less than that. I thought it was like 10 or 15% or something.
Well, when it's the largest expenditure we have besides old people, yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah. Next one that he said is he would defund Planned Parenthood, which, is...
Mammograms?
Well, now just a second. Just a second.
Mainly, yeah.
Let's say the federal government does defund Planned Parenthood. Granted, in fact, they would lose a large chunk of the federal grant monies that are out there. However, people don't realize that, it was actually started around the 1916 is the American Birth Control League. 1921.
Some eugenics.
And it changed its name to Planned Parenthood in 1942. And it is set up as a non-profit, which means that they do get some federal money. But
Mark, they sell babies.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
We're drinking them right now.
You know all the makeup is aborted fetuses.
Anyway,
Mark,
explain
we got a funny
that.
story about that.
Yeah. But here, let me finish my thought. Is that you have people that can still donate money to it. So what if they take the money out? Take the money out.
My wife is, active in women's issues, and I haven't gone to the source, so I'm just taking her word for it. But she tells me that they do not use the tax money for abortions. They use other money, privately funded money for the abortions.
Satanists and stuff.
And the healthcare stuff is all they do from tax money. And they do a lot of health. Most of the work is just plain healthcare.
Yeah.
So I mean, this whole big thing that the Republicans and Trump want to say about Planned Parenthood and stuff, it scares people. But has anyone really know what goes on with Planned Parenthood? Which goes to this funny story, and I'll let you explain it.
We were at a candidate forum, I guess you would say, and
past fall.
Yeah, and the thing was just full of Republicans. That's all that was there. And there was a woman there running, and she was a self-declared expert on abortion or something.
She was a pro-life missionary. She called herself
pro-life
missionary.
Pro-life missionary. So she knew all about it, and and she made a flat out, and she declared her expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She knew more about it than anybody else in the room. Mm-hmm. No question about it. And she made a flat out declaration that Planned Parenthood was selling baby parts.
And
I think it was. Did you mention Pepsi?
The Pepsi bought the aborted fetal parts from Planned Parenthood.
That's
and
that
were
Pepsi
using
Clear, isn't it?
In their secret formula. And
she stated that as a fact because I'm an expert at this.
Now this is what's funny about it. Wait a second. Within a millisecond of her saying that, what was my response in the audience?
Something like bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't contain myself. I was like,
bullshit.
Still Scheiße. And it made her cry that I didn't believe her. And she said, no, it's true. I'm a pro-life missionary. I'm a professional. And I went, ma'am, there ain't a damn thing coming out of your mouth anymore that I believe, period.
Wow.
After a statement like that. And there are people that in the ultra-conservative that wants people to believe that that's true, and it's not.
Well, there was this one guy that made some kind of video on it 2 or 3 years ago, I guess, and it went viral. When he made this video, he was doing undercover investigation, and interviewing people and getting them to admit things and all that. And it turns out it's all bullshit.
Yeah, it was completely fake. It was all edited together.
Yeah.
Okay, you remember the one about
was it Ralph Shorty that was there? I kind of hope it was, because I'd love to go back to him and say, well.
I don't remember what the guy's name was, but that wasn't it.
Yeah. If it was Ralph Shorty, I'm sure he didn't think anything of me since I was in my 50s. He likes 17-year-old boys,
You're way too old.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember the thing about them walking in and going? We want to set up I'm a pimp, and I need to set up I want to work with you guys. It was an undercover video like the other one. It was for NPR.
I remember that.
Okay.
I
Now,
remember that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Turns out, even though this NPR lost their funding over this, turns out the meeting happened, but they edited in the wide brim, like they do like the fake interviews. Yeah, that is not. I mean, he was not there in a fake. He was in a 3-piece suit, completely respectable. The purple brim and the fur. That was added later.
All right, so let's look at the next one, which I know we'll all get a lot of good feedback on. His campaign promise: I will take care of women. So does that mean he'll grab everyone's pussies or what?
I think it means like the mafia sense, like I'll take care of it, Guido.
Yeah.
There won't be a problem after this.
Yeah. I think the day after his inauguration, that not only upon Washington, but all these other states that had millions of women marching, actually showed that they don't need Trump to take care of them. And I think that's very positive because it just basically shows that how quickly these grassroots movements are responding to Trump and the deals. We're winning. We're winning by showing up and protesting and calling the senators. Look at how many grassroots people actually called their senators and stuff and got them to rethink this, Trump care bill.
That's the real reason it crashed, because Trump doesn't have the power, the purse strings, to, use his power and prestige to cut off funding to these people. They're getting yelled at home. They're going for the loudest voices, the one that cuts their paycheck.
I didn't know that Trump had a purse.
Well, he has a lot of things you don't know about him.
All right, so maybe that's another one.
You need to go to the dark web more.
Yeah. Frequently use the term radical Islamic terrorism. Yeah, that's just fear. He's using fear-based.
Oh, the quote-unquote State of the Union, I wouldn't really actually State of the Union, but his first televised address as president, he brings a group of people in that have been harmed by illegal aliens. Like, well, that is stupid. I mean, that these people are bad if they come from Mexico or they come from Kansas. It isn't.
I've been hurt by right-wing radical Republicans, so they didn't.
Well, if you want to go after a social problem, go after like 18 to 32-year-old white males, because they have a high violence rate.
So both of his travel bans have been rejected by federal judges.
Crashed and burned, yes.
Crashed and burned.
Instantaneous protests at airports. No one goes to the airport unless they have to. No one. And now people showing up.
Now, he said he'll never take a vacation while serving as president.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
Warn
sorry.
me before I drink.
How many weekends has he been down to Mar-a-Lago?
They said he's been on vacation a third of the time. He's down there right now.
He has spent more money in the first month than Obama did in a whole year.
Yes.
I read an article somewhere where the county down there doesn't like it, and it's costing them too much money for security.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if the podcast world out there realizes this, but a president doesn't hop on a JetBlue and fly down there. Obviously the Air Force One, but there's also another Air Force One that takes off with him as a decoy, a fully loaded 747, or is it 777? You're the
It's
airplane
47.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, 747. That flies a different route, so if missiles took it out, they have a 50 chance of missing it.
And that's not all. They have
like 100 vehicles,
military
100
escorts,
100 support vehicles.
Well, yeah, look at how
C-130s.
many Air Force, jets are also flying around.
Oh, fighters, yeah.
Yeah, because I saw George Bush take off in Florida one time, and when he took off, he had 4 F-16s right there with him.
But yeah, they fly all the vehicles and the press and just there's a whole bunch of airplanes.
It's an entourage.
Yeah, of airplanes, big ones. But the problem is when you get where you're going, then the county has to, get their local enforcement guys out there and close roads and whatever it is.
Look at Trump Tower. They've got barriers all around the middle of New York City, which is not known for the traffic. I mean, New Yorkers hate it. They despise it.
Yeah.
Because right in the middle of all this, they've got barriers that have to go side streets around and armed guards everywhere.
I find this next one interesting. He made the comment that he would make medical marijuana widely available to patients and allow states to decide if they want to fully legalize pot or not.
That is kind of weird for his base.
Well, hasn't he instructed his federal prosecutor to let the states know that they're going to enforce the federal drug bans? So, I mean, he's already, people pay attention. Get involved. Get involved in grassroots movements. Learn to get your
weed,
news.
People.
Learn to look at alternative news sources. You have Democracy Now! You have the magazine and website In These Times. You have Dissent magazine.
High Times.
Look at alternative news and get involved in grassroots movements. That's what it's all about.
Okay, if you're going to recommend two news sources that you that you trust, what would they be right now?
Dissent magazine, In These Times, Democracy Now! Those would be my two.
Are those available online?
No, I knew. Yeah, they're all available online. I listed
I know
three
she didn't say
instead of two.
Fox.
Yeah. Democracy Now! That's, gosh, you can get that on cable or something.
Yeah, that's a podcast.
TV.
Too.
Yeah, good resources. So let's get back to how effective the grassroots movements were that helped get the word out to call their senators and representatives, let them know not to pass Trump Care bill. So we're seeing the impact that the people already have, and it's the grassroots movements that is spearheading all this. So if you're not plugged in, then you need to get plugged into something. You have Black Lives groups, you have Black Lives Matter groups.
Thank you for tuning into False Flag, the grassroots activism podcast where together we can change the world. Please like, comment, and subscribe.
If you're interested in unionizing, you have the Industrial Workers of the World, IWW.org, DSAUSA.org, InTheseTimes.com. So get out there, because you need to understand the false flags that are out there. We'll be talking about more false flags. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everybody. Everybody, come on.
Oh, sorry.
All right, good deal.
All right.